Welcome back, my friends, and you are my friends to your full-time show. I'm your host, the Governor, and Ipswich Town. It's a sentence I'm saying all too often these days. Have lost again today, 2-1 away at Portsmouth. A big game in the promotion chase. Does it knock us out? Does it hurt? Of course it does. Is it too early to say you're worried about the Paul Cook reign? All of these things we want to discuss tonight. It is your team, so have your say. The first and only Matchday show to give you, the fans, the chance to have your say unfiltered, as Mike Brown proves on a weekly basis. Unfiltered, uncensored. So have your say. Link is in the chat. Is it too early to doubt the Paul Cook reign? Are you concerned? Does it knock us out of the promotion race? Is this now the big game out of the way in our run, and we can now get ourselves going and get some momentum flying? I'm, of course, joined, as I was in the first half and at halftime, by royalty himself, King Kally. The King, welcome back, my sir. And the Don, the Dapper Don, is here. What did you make of that second half and overall game, Kally? Christopher Martin says, are the automatics still on, lads?
No, I think it's fair to say the automatics are off. As bad as
I'm
the league
more worried
is,
about the top six being off. And after 8 months of every fan alive telling me, Martin, you are incorrect. This manager is not good for our football club. A better manager would get this squad inside the top six. I'm now worried we won't make the top six at all.
Maybe the question is Paul Cook as good as Matt Gill?
It's your show. It's your show. You tell me.
I don't know. Matt. I think it's too early to say. Paul Cook's the wrong manager or whatever. I still think we have a decent team. Obviously, we're getting embedded into a way of playing. I did say, I think it was last week or the week before that, the game against Wigan next week will be interesting because Paul Cook will have a full week of training sessions and everything. To date, he's probably only done 6 training sessions since he's been here. Mm-hmm. So it'll be quite interesting to see how that plays. I think there were good spells in the first half. Second half, I think Rob was spot on with his prediction at half-time. We just fell apart. And then, the goals, it's just sloppy defending again. But there's no bite, no creativity. And the big worry is the goals, like for us scoring them. Norwood, okay, scores. He'll only score 1 goal a game. I can't remember the last time he's probably the Bolton away or whatever against Bolton Kids last year is when he scored more than 1 goal. And that's a worry because no one else is scoring. Those midfield goals have dried up. We
We're just a crap team. Crap team all over the pitch. Facebook user, Pompey not come from behind in 1 and 2 years. Ipswich Town always breaking records. We've got Dan Snell. First time Portsmouth have scored 2 goals for 9 games. Kally would have been a much better bet than Cook. That's worth discussing. But Rob, I'm more worried about the players' body language. Like, this is a new manager, and towards the end of that game, they looked dispirited. They looked like this was the end of a reign, not the start of one.
Well, honestly, I just think that those players, at Gillingham, at Fleetwood, they gave the manager a clue that they can't be relied upon. And then in that last 10 minutes today, the game was in the balance. It wasn't at Fleetwood after we were 2-0 down. It wasn't at Gillingham, 2 goals behind. But today, when we went behind, that was in the balance. Get a point, leave there, sod off home with a point, move on. And they proved, by creating nothing in that time after Portsmouth scored, that they're not in it for me. That 18 minutes or what it was after they scored was the players' chance to show the manager what's what. And they did.
The thing is, with Gillingham, you could put up an excuse. They came, they battled, they on the front foot, they were physical, they were whatever.
We were 2 goals behind. That is a mountain to climb for any team. We all know that. But 1 goal behind against the thing is today, right? Is that it's a 6-pointer. We've bottled 6-pointer after 6-pointer for years and years beyond Lambert, beyond Hurst even. And what it does today is that's changed Portsmouth's season. They're beating a rival, and now they're on the front foot. A point there doesn't really say anything for them.
No.
Right. But the thing is, it's changed their season. They've got a new manager bounce, a new manager's in, everyone's behind him, everyone's positive. They'll go on and get in the playoffs now, probably at our expense because of that defeat. Even though it doesn't change much on the points front, right? Not really. But what it does is it changes Portsmouth's season, and now our season is in Portsmouth. Charlton is in the hands of them.
So it's look. It's a funny time of the season, isn't it? Right, because Why do you make the change of a manager? You make the change of a manager for better. You make it so you reach the playoffs. If you don't reach the playoffs with this many games left to go, that is serious question marks for me. And people in the chat are saying you can't blame Cook. Why not? He's in charge of this football club. He picks those players.
I think it's a cross, because I think to a point you can't blame Cook, because he's not going to be, by the end of the season, he's still not going to have been here long enough. You know, I'm always having a pop at you for saying we need to give our managers 2.5 years, but as you know, we don't agree on that. I'm not saying we should give a manager that long, but I'm saying we should give him some time, right? At the end of the day, he's going to have had, I don't know, was it 10, 15, 13 games, whatever it was? That's enough to get your team right. That's enough to get your team right and find a solution, find a formula, even if you don't have the end result of what you wanted. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, Flatty's right there. Look, I mean, you can see none of them really want to look like they want to play for the club or for their future, do they? I don't see one player out there who's making a statement, not one, and I've not seen one for a long time. And it's just the same after the same, and we keep losing these games where we could have just taken a point and moved on. But in the end, the players showed Cook, sadly, that you can't go into battle with them on your side. You'll lose. You can't trust them. You can't rely on them. And if you leave them to their own devices to get a point, you'll come away with nothing every time. They've lost 3 out of 4 away games. That's worse than Lambert or Gill, probably even Hurst. That's appalling.
Right, let's grab some comments from the chat, and then I'm going to bring in the Fisherman and then Stephen straightly after that. Chris Boyd, hi Doug. Did Evans go for the wrong manager? Kally was available. That's a good point. I mean, it's worth discussing. This is your club. These are your points. Craig Mears.
Portsmouth players are up for it, weren't they? They've got a new manager bounced after 90 minutes. It's taken us 5 games, and the players still can't make a tackle for 90 minutes.
The difference was
I'm really annoyed, to be honest.
We were winning, and then the manager changed. And there's a couple of comments there saying, "Oh, you can't blame Paul Cook. It's all the players. It's all the players." Fine, if that's the case, did we need to sack Lambert then? And listen, I didn't like Lambert. I'm not saying keep him. I'm just saying, so maybe sacking Lambert wasn't the answer then. If these are the comments, stand by your statements, people. If you're saying that it's down to the players are bad and this, that, and the other, and no manager's going to make a difference, why were you guys calling? Well,
to be fair, I'm in the middle on this, so I can probably answer that a bit for everyone. I hope. I think what it does, every manager that goes, in my opinion, it reveals the percentage of the manager's responsibility goes down, because you would say that Lambert was probably less guilty than Hurst, and Hurst was less guilty than Mick, and so on. Right? You could say it reveals the owner more, and it reveals the players more.
Don't make love to your microphone, Rob. Don't make love to your microphone. Back it up a little bit. You back it up. You ain't got to make love to it. You ain't got to make love to it.
I think what this does is that everyone was torn. Is it Lambert? Is it the players? Now look at the comments. It's 80% the players. So what Lambert going enables everyone to see what was really happening in the first place. I was
go on, Kally.
I'm saying the thing that is then, like, I'm just saying, I'm saying on both sides of the coin here, right? So the thing that then is frustrating is these are the same players that under Matt Gill gets 3 wins on the bounce. These are the same players that, beginning the season are right up there at the top. So these are the same players. We haven't changed the players, and we haven't changed things. Tactics may have changed, or personnel have changed in the background. So either, I don't know, I ain't got the answers, but if we're saying it's the players, then if you firmly believe the players are at fault, then you shouldn't be calling for Lambert. You should.
What I've said all season. That's what I've been doing all season, and I've been criticised.
Fair play, you have.
The thing is, guys, that failure of this season goes alongside the previous year and a half from Lambert. The problem is Lambert had nothing left in the bank, in the kitty, whatever. No, I don't know what the phrase is.
No credit left
in the bank. So then, when it starts going wrong, everyone's going to blame him because his credit has already expired before it started going wrong.
However, if you believe the reported claims of his salary, you've just spunked what is 2.5 million up the wall in a period of time where you're going to say it's basically a void time. Like, this is a football club that doesn't spend money. I'd rather have waited, let Lambert play out his tenure, and then spunk 2.5 million quid on a striker. Quite frankly,
Evans went for the new manager bounce, just like Portsmouth did, because Kenny Jackett's a solid manager. He was doing okay, had a horrendous run, but I think we all agree he's a decent manager. And at the end of the day, they've done the same thing as us.
Okay, Fisherman, you've often called a better manager 10% more. Is it right to be saying what's happening? Is it right to question this tenure? Well, come on, talk to me, Fisherman.
It just goes to show the demise of the club, doesn't it? We are where we are.
We're all in house arguing, aren't we?
Sorry.
We're all arguing internally in house, aren't we? About is it the players, is it the owner, is it the manager? But in the end, it shows the demise all round. You're quite right.
Yeah, the demise of the club. look, it was time for Lambert to go. I think if fans had been in the ground, he'd have gone before that. He weren't taking us nowhere. You can see by that with his recruitment and stuff like that, it wasn't going anywhere. The reality is, the first half of the day, I thought was much. I thought, you know what, we didn't look too bad, but we capitulated in that second half. Players not. They look unfit. They look burnt out. You know, and when they scored their second goal, we were lucky not to concede 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. To me, right. I was a bit strange. It was strange substitutions today. I don't know. I mean, Kane Vincent Young, where's he come from? He's not even played in under 23s, has he? Suddenly he's ready for the first team. You know,
no comment.
There's players walking around. When we're chasing the game,
if you say anything against that, you get hammered.
Let's bring Jimmy in.
He did he make a difference when he come on? I thought he did.
I did. He did.
Kane. Yeah, absolutely.
That right back spot was a problem all game. And then as soon as he come on, nothing came down that right back spot. It's as if they thought, hey, this guy's got pace, we're not going to beat him. But that second goal came from the right back spot. Chambers got stung again. You know,
even him just being there made a difference, didn't it?
Yeah, just him being there and them saying we can't beat them for pace. Yeah. Plus the fact, a few seconds before that, he was on the outside their 18-yard box putting across it. You know, that's what we want to see. That's what we got him for. Now, was he fit? Was he not? Who knows? I don't care. He's back. If he can play 90 minutes, boom, Chambers.
I do care. But I do care because Chambers ain't getting dropped from the team.
No, he moved to
and
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure, Kally. I think that we're at breaking point now. Chambers is one of those players for me that's proved to the new manager that he's not really in it or up to it right now in terms of performance. And I think if Cook's got any balls, which I do think he has, then he's potentially going to drop his captain. I don't know who becomes captain. Don't ask me that because I simply don't know. Give it a Holy. That would be a nice choice.
To be honest, Holy had a decent game, didn't he?
Did he, bollocks?
Oh, who's that, sorry?
No.
You've been on my green shoots, mate. You've been on my green shoots.
I'm not looking. I'm talking one green shoot today. He looked a lot better today than he has for a long time. And I've been I am Holy's biggest.
Yeah, you can't blame him for today's game.
No, absolutely
not blaming him. I just think
Chambers was nowhere to be found on that first goal. Everything was coming down. So many times Chambers gets found out. Look, Chambers has been a great servant to the club. He's probably done a lot for the youngsters that have been there and the ones that are there now and everything. But as a footballer, it's time to tie up your laces and retire, buddy. Because quite frankly, you'd struggle in the Vanarama League.
Oh, that's it.
And that's the bottom line. You know,
that's a bit harsh.
You know, like I said, Chambers has been here a while. He's done so many whatevers, you know, caps and stuff for the team and that. But no, I mean, look, we've got so much dead wood in that side. Look, I wasn't really expecting us to get the playoffs this season. I really weren't. I was hoping, you know, like Cook coming in, a bit of a bounce, whatever. Look, if we start like we have next season under Cook, then I would start questioning the manager again. But quite frankly, he needs this close season and the end of this season to really to get to know the players. I mean, I don't understand why Dobra was in the team today. I ran around like a headless chicken, to be brutally honest. I'd have brought Jackson on instead rather than that.
He did bring Jackson on.
Yeah, I know, but that was later on though, Martin, wasn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, well, let's be fair. Like we ended that game with Jackson Parrott and Norwood on. How many times this season we've said we had 3 strikers on?
That was a good green shoot. I was really impressed with that. He obviously was reading my column this week about changing the game in the game.
The main thing is, Mike's right. Yeah, you know, Chambers is 35, Ward's 35. When you're 35, you still think you're 18, but your body doesn't. And I've said this all along. He might think he's 18 and he can do what he used to do at 18, but his body says he can't. Yeah, and that's obvious to see.
Can we just reel it in just a sec, right? Okay, yeah, Chambers has been dog shit, right? He was dog shit today. Chambers is one person. There's 10 other people on that pitch, right? I'm not here to defend Chambers, right? But I'm just saying, let's be real. You know, Chambers gets a lot of hate, and he's the easy scapegoat, like a few other players. Everyone else was shit today. James Norwood, probably our best player of the game, right? Because he scored a goal. Other than that, did James Norwood do anything in the second half?
I think that's
he did more work. And Kally,
Yes.
I often agree with you on certain things, but on this one, look, Chambers. I'm sorry, but yes, Chambers is one person, but he was getting found out so many times down that right hand side. Do you know what I mean? And that was where the problems were coming from. One player should make a difference, because if we'd have had, I think if we'd have had Matheson or Kane Vincent from the start, that wouldn't have happened, because they'd have had to try other channels.
Because I disagree. The big problem for us is the scoring and creating of goals.
No, the top and bottom. The way I look at it is Chambers is the leader. Yeah, he's getting all the flack because he's supposed to say this is how you play, this is what you do, this is what we do on the field. So what the manager says, he's explaining to everybody else on the field what we do. If he's having a murr, everybody else thinks they can have a murr. Yeah. So the first person you criticise is the captain, because he should be standing up and saying, look, that's not what you do. Ignore what I do. That's not what you do. And he's not. He's letting the whole team know. I'm with you. There was a lot of people out there who could hold their heads in shame. And I think there's going to be a massive call this season. I still think Paul Cook's going to go. I think we're going to be inconsistent, because Paul Cook's going to want to see as many players as possible, which is right for a new manager. But
then why is Chambers undroppable? Like, is he going to be here next year? Hopefully not. Well, in that case, if it's a void, Josh, if this is we're building for next year and whatever happens league table wise, surely players like Stephen Ward should never ever see a squad.
Agreed. Yeah.
Agreed.
Chambers was dog shit.
Like, literally, you should have a 17-year-old academy player out there to see what he's got about him. Because Stephen Ward's not got a future at the football club.
No way.
But he's got
what is it? So what is it? Are we going for playoffs, or are we building for next year?
What we're doing is we're falling between the cracks of all of these things. We're falling between the cracks of all these things. We've got no direction, and the manager's been brought in, and he's trying to figure out a way forward. When really we don't know where the future holds. Are we being taken over? Are we not? Are players going to have their deals extended? Are they not? Are they going to earn it? Are they not? No one's really making a case for anything. There's not one player in it that's saying I have to be picked and I have to be have a contract extended. Nobody.
Well,
in the end, we don't know where we're going. We've got no direction where we're going.
This was a point in the first shot. At the end of the day, no one's making a mistake for a contract, so no one gets a contract. Because
let me pick that point up, please. Right, no one gets a contract. I get that. So you're gonna have 40 players without a contract. Who the fuck are you playing? Because we're not bringing in people. Your recruitment consists of Ollie Hawkins and Drinnan.
Yeah,
so
that's true. We're replacing shit.
You're gonna have 11 Drinnans and 11 Ollie Hawkins. Forget the takeover. Of course you are. Of course you are, Stephen. Under Marcus Evans.
We started off this season, with the salary cap coming in. Paul Lambert went out. Marcus Evans.
Forget the salary cap. Marcus Evans, when have you known him to dip his money, his hand in his pocket?
He won't be here.
Listen,
he won't be here.
The top and bottom of it is the amount we paid for them loan players. You could have got 4 decent players from non-league, which is what
that requires good recruitment, doesn't it? That's the problem.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna pick you up on that as well, Stephen, because we talk constantly.
How much they cost? He got a lot of good players from next to now.
Okay, so we talk about a lot of good players from lower leagues. There was a little old chap called Paul Hurst who tried that, and he tried bringing in some players from a lower league for us. We had Caden Jackson was setting up the leagues alight when he was scoring. John Nolan was bloody the ginger Pirlo or whatever. None of them have repicked. No, I'm just saying we have tried picking up players from lower leagues. The only time I can think of us actually picking up decent players from lower leagues was 2 left backs, Mings and Creswell.
I get
everyone else.
Ryan says, you want to reap with what money Evans would? Not even to buy a fucking Fredo for the club. So basically, he's trying to say that Evans' investment wouldn't even buy a Fredo. And I think he's right. Stephen, I have got to go to somebody else because there is a lot of people waiting.
I'll say my point tomorrow.
Okay, looking forward to it. I'll hold you to that. Josh, what's your say before I bring Robin from down under?
We're just shit. And I think, to be fair, what is there, 36 players out of contract in the summer?
Yeah.
You're going to have to replace some of them, aren't you? Evans is going to have to go.
You're going to have to replace at least 20 of them, I think.
See, I'm not concerned about next year yet because this football club may never be in a position it's in again on the verge of a playoffs with games in hand. I don't want to say, next year. Because what happens next year if you have a runner's form where you're not in the top 6 or you're not good or your investment's not right? This football
At the end
club
of the day,
needs
what
to
happens this
return
year?
to the
What happens
championship.
this year determines what happens next year. Because if we all of a sudden we're in the playoffs, let's say we get to the playoff semi-final, even the final, and even lose, our stock is higher than right now. Our stock not only to sell the club, but for players coming in, it's higher because it looks like we're challenging. If we just rot away and finish 7th, 8th, 9th, we might as well have finished 20th. No players wants to come to a club that's not going anywhere. On the other side, if we go up, then our stock's even higher again. This season determines what happens next season.
Yeah, in every way. But so to write it off, I really hate that because why are we giving up on 11 games with 33 points to play for? Why?
Have you watched the game? That's why we're giving up, mate. Because they're absolutely horrendous, and they haven't made a tackle for 90 minutes. I've made more tackles at Fratton Park than they have today.
Stop holding your team and your club accountable. Don't say, well, Lambert was the problem. Oh, wait, no, now the players are. After 8 months of screaming, if you genuinely believe Lambert going
reveals the player's true face. It's like the unmasked singer or whatever the hell it's called. Lambert's gone, and now you see the players are there. And then the players will go, and you'll see the owners there. We're reeling back layers. We're peeling the potato one by one here, guys.
But as Kally said, this group of players got you top of the table. It had you all believing for 6 months of the year. Then something happened. Like they don't just drop off the face of the earth. They still should be a top 7 at least.
That something happened under Lambert. That something happened under Lambert 2 years in a row. Don't forget that.
Okay,
that's
all
why
right.
we're here.
Rob from Down Under, what's your view?
Oh, good day.
It's kind of both, really, isn't it? Like we're saying, Lambert was here, we all blame Lambert, and now we're blaming the players. I think, it's like I think Kally was saying before. It's kind of like a whole ball, really. It's everything's a problem. I don't think we can really put it down to one thing.
But what do you want out of this? Like, surely you must be concerned a little bit that the start of a rain. I've never known the start of a rain start so badly and then end so well. Like normally you set off on a good upward curve before you have the downward. Like at the moment we're just sort of.
It was a really weird time to sack Lambert though, wasn't it? Really, we were 3 wins on the bounce.
Yeah.
The timing was weird. Even for those that wanted him out, the timing was weird.
Well, like I said, pre-game, this lineup concerns me. Pre-game,
why did it concern you?
I just think.
Did you watch the game, Martin?
It's called a host, Rob. I've got to ask questions to draw a debate.
Sorry, Rob. Go for it.
I just don't know. Like Kally was saying before, how we tried lower league players. Look at that, we've ended up. We tried League One players, we ended up in League One. Are we going to get League Two players that end up in League Two?
There's a plan. We'll see you there.
Do you know what it felt like when Cook come in, and the way it's panning out when Hurst come in, the new era, the new hope. Paul Hurst is going to help. Never lived up to it. Cook's going down that same route. I'm not here to call for Cook's head yet. I think I think you need to give him to the rest of the season, right?
Of course.
But
do you not think though, guys? This is a unique situation as well because normally the manager will never outlast the players, right? Never, ever. But in this case, we've got, Evans isn't going to sack Cook tomorrow or April or May or August and so on. It's just not going to happen. Evans doesn't do that. So the manager is going to outlast these players that don't perform him. Which means for once, you can actually say, everyone says, you can't sack the players. Well, you cannot give them new contracts. And that is where we're heading because they don't deliver. He's not going to be pushing for these players to get a new contract. And the manager has a higher stock than the players right now. And he will have until at least August. Doesn't matter what happens. He's going to have a higher stock. He's going to be more valued by the club than those players. So for once in our lives, the players will go before the manager.
Okay. Josh, appreciate you as always. Lewis, let's bring in Lewis. Lewis, welcome in. What did you make of Rob's comments there?
Sorry, mate.
No, you fire because Lewis is not talking.
I feel that half our squad is actually confidence based. It does really seem because we're so inconsistent all the time. Mm-hmm. We're very scrappy all the time. If all of our squad confidence, and as you know, I've bagged Holy out for weeks now. I actually think he actually did a lot better today. Remember, I said last week he doesn't come for balls. He doesn't.
He did claim a few, didn't he?
He did a lot better today. In my opinion.
And I'm not going to win your points, is he? Like a good goalkeeper wins you 12 points a year. He costs me points more than wins it. The thing is, though, to pick up on Rob's point there, to ask you all, and the same to everybody who comes on the rest of the show, it's too early to call for Paul Cook's head. Of course it is. Yeah. And Rob's right. This manager will outlive these players. But you have to look for incremental progress. You have to look for things that you didn't see under Paul Lambert. You have to see for patterns of play, improvement in players, personnel in the right positions. Ask yourself honestly this evening at 22 minutes past 3, have you seen that between Gillingham and today? Or have you seen, well, what have you seen? Let me know. I'll bring in Lewis. Lewis, on that point, what have you seen since Gillingham to now? Progress or not?
Yeah, definitely. You know, we're playing high up the pitch. You know, we've got a manager that's not sat in a dugout, that's sat with his arms crossed. We've got a manager that every commentary we've heard is, calling for them players to be high up the pitch. And eventually we will get that. I'd love to see us, same as you, Guv. We don't want to see our team losing for the last 11 games, but unfortunately the bigger picture is that Cook will get the best out of our players, and there will be a clear out. And like Rob said, is that it's great to see actually that the manager won't have to make that decision of dropping players. There will be players naturally fall out of the squad, and he will bring players in himself. He hasn't got his right-hand man. He probably joined us in the summer from Wigan. And will that give us exactly what we need? For me, yes, it does give us exactly what we need. It's a time game now. He's given everyone a chance. We had Dobra come in today who looked lively, like Bishop. How many players will stay? That is the question for me.
Absolutely. Rob?
Which one?
Which Rob?
Down under, Rob.
Down under.
Yeah. I sort of agree with that. I do see small changes, not very, like we're saying, pressing up the pitch. They're not very big changes, but again, is it down to the players not being able to perform what Cook wants? Like, you hear yelling all game.
Yeah.
But then doesn't Cook sets himself the team up the same way Lambert set the team up? So I know he wants them to be braver. I know he's talking. He likes them higher up the pitch, and there's a bit more focus on pressing. I don't think there's been improvements because it's an improvement. Today's an improvement on Tuesday, yes, but Tuesday was completely shit anyway, right?
Yes.
Overall, Gillingham, the Lincoln game, we're still only playing 45 minutes a match, right? Mm-hmm. Which has been the same thing under Lambert or whatever. But apart from the Accrington game where we're playing against 10 men, we still can't score more than one goal a game.
Absolutely. Rob, appreciate you, buddy. Problem. Really do. Look after yourself. Mark, welcome in. Have you seen any improvement since Gillingham to today?
What's going on, lads? Yeah, I have. When should I say? I think I have. I thought the first half we were really, really good until they equalised, and then I thought, oh, here we go again. They scored at the equalised the wrong time. I thought the start of it, we've seen loads of green shoots. I thought the players are playing with more attacking ability. We're not defending. We're not boring. At least they're going for it. And I thought for the first time in a long, long time, the players knew what the instructions were, and I thought they were playing really well until the equaliser.
Come back on that, because obviously you don't agree. So what do you make of Mark's comments there?
Oh, me, sorry. Sorry. We're picking up individual parts. I'm talking about as an overall. So overall, since the Gillingham game, and you look at the whole result, let's not talk about blocks of 10 minutes or blocks of 45 minutes or whatever. Over the course of 90 minutes, I've not seen an improvement.
There's no fundamental improvement, is there? There is parts, and Mark, I think you're right. There's bits in that first half. You thought, right, this is the way forward, but then we didn't see it through. Like it's almost like we're starting the process. What concerns me a little bit is that we're starting the process 5 games in. How long is that going to take? I'm just not sure we've got the time to get it right this season. And I
agree. I think we're going to have to do it.
We're going to have to do it all again in August because he's going to have a completely different set of players. So, in some ways, this season you have to get it right in this little period, and then whatever happens, you're going to have to start again fresh. There is signs where but at the end of the day, we're playing to our strengths. When we do get forward, we get Norwood in the channels. We get the chances to Norwood. We've got Norwood playing. That's the only way we're scoring goals. They know that, so that's what they're doing. The problem is that if we don't create any chances, we're not going to score any goals. Norwood, as we know, will probably convert 1 in 4, but we're creating maybe 2.
I think today, talking about Norwood, was their in the last 6 years, he's not scored under double digits. Do you think he'll reach over that?
What's he on
now? Anyone know?
6 or 7, I guess.
Yeah, I think he will. Because if surely we're going to score more than 4 goals the rest of the season.
For the rest of the season, he looked like he took a knock today when he scored the goal. your back spasms. Do you think it'll last the rest of the season?
I put a five. I put a fiver on him being the only player that scores this season for us.
We don't do fiver bets, Rob. Remember that.
You know what I mean? I don't see another. Do you see anyone?
That's the
Anyone here?
problem.
See
I wonder where
Chopper
Chopper is now. So,
And I think with Norwood, he doesn't put himself about. I was going to say, with Norwood up front, he definitely puts himself about. But my problem with the strikers recently is that they've been pulled out to the wings a bit too often. And I think the striker's main job is to get into the box for the wingers to come down the wing and bang the ball into them. And I think our problem a lot of the time this season has been our strikers are played out of position on the wing and they get the ball and turn around and there's no one else, running into the box.
There's no midfield support, is there? No goals from midfield. Like I said earlier, we need that Tommy Miller, don't we? There's nobody arriving in that box.
Well, this is it. The boy wonder in midfield has had all season now, and he's not looked.
None of them scored any goals. Now, you might as well have 3 cold excuses in there. Not one of them can contribute anything.
Lewis, before I let you go,
Kenny
Lewis,
Bishop was doing that at the start of the season a bit.
Yeah, but it's gone, isn't it? That's the problem. That's where we dropped off the cliff. Edwards and Bishop's goals dried up. That's where we got off the cliff. This paragraph from Bill Old. Lewis, you can come back on it, and then I'll bring in who is there. I'll bring in Lee. Wake up, some of you. Expecting instant change with this squad so mixed up under Lambert, you're dreaming. Cook has had like 2 days between Saturday and Tuesday games. How do you expect him to get the best out of the players with that amount of time? You're mad. He's making little changes to see what he has in his team. The guy's hands are tied right now. He now has a week quality time. These ain't his players, but working with years of underspending, shit teams to play, building on each game. So now he's got the week. What are you expecting from next week, Lewis?
I think, Guv, if you'd have read all my comments put together in the chat, I think they would have brought that paragraph together. You can't expect a manager to pick up the pieces from 2 other managers in a short period of time with limited window to work magic. And I think Bill has hit that on the head. And I don't think we're all dreaming. We all want magic, but realistically, we're building for next year. We all want to see us go up, but if we build this year to go up successfully next year, we might even get the chance to beat the Budgie Scum. And on that, I'll probably
Lewis, love you, man. Look after yourself. Mark, and then I've got another comment here from Mark Tuxford. People say we could go on a run and still get playoffs. This group of players have underachieved for 2 years. Why, in your words, is that suddenly going to change?
I think that Cook is going to give them a little bit more freedom. I honestly think the players' confidence, it's sucked out of them by Lambert. I think they were so negative. I just don't. I even thought today in sports, I looked as if they wanted to go forward. They wanted they're starting to find their groove. I think we're going to run out of games. That's the only problem with that. I've always believed the players were good enough. Once again today, I realised this is Division 3. The players should be a bit able to put their wares a bit more. It is full of one-time internationals or potential internationals, even at a young age, even the young lads. There's something not right, and I think it could be a confidence thing. That's the only thing I can put it down to, because clearly the ability is there, because half of them have played most of their careers in the championship, and you don't become a bad player overnight.
Absolutely. Lee, I'll bring you in now, Leandro. So basically the change came too late. So are we going to all hammer Marcus Evans for this? No investment. The change came too late. We're giving Paul Cook fuck all to work with. Surely it's Marcus now we need to be sort of speaking about, right?
Yeah, Lambert didn't have the funds, did he? Lambert's been calling for years for players, and he's kept his words back the first couple of years, and it was only at the end that he then spoke out. So nothing's going to change under Lambert. We know all that, don't we? I mean, that's been there for a couple of years now. We've all said it on the pod. Nearly everybody said it on the pod. Nobody's come here and said, that Evans is really investing well and it's someone else's fault. But at the end of the day, we're going to end up in the same position in another 4 transfer windows with Cook as we did with Lambert, that without proper investment, the club isn't going anywhere, is it? It's not going to go. It's not. You've got to be lucky with the transfers. Is Cook? I mean, we want to, looking at today's game, we could sweep loads of players out, couldn't we? I mean, I've written things down here: mentality, heart, desire, that sort of thing.
No tackles, was it? No tackles.
No tackles. It just
that last 10 minutes they're walking around.
Yeah,
but worryingly,
we look like the team who were holding on to a 2-1 lead. We should. You know, if we get beat, it's not if you get beat, it's how you get beat for me. And when I've coached, it's all about, you know, if you've given it all, you've given everything, you've left it all on the pitch, then so be it. I think maybe they have left it on the pitch, but we just haven't got that extra, the bit. I mean, we stopped playing second half, didn't we? You've always got to bring players back to, you know, look at players and say, right, we scored a goal. How did we score that goal? What did we do well to score that goal? We did this, and this. We don't do it. We didn't do it second half. No. We didn't do it, and I think that's a difference between Lambert and Cook. And you know, I'm not here to slate Cook at all because obviously he's going to need time. You know, but under Lambert we had poor first halves, but we were better second half because we just ground teams down almost. But I just think we've gone the other way. You know, we make the substitutions, but they have no they have no impact. We've got to put our foot on the ball and still play. And it was quite interesting because I've never had commentary for the away games for pretty much all season. And listening to the two styles of Cook and Kally, they're slightly different. They're slightly different in what they're, you know, Cook is very verbal in getting out tactics and stuff like that. But listen to Kally, it's all a little bit more individual. And I think that's what the players need. You know, I'm not criticising Cook, but there's subtle differences to the way that the two guys are managing to me. But I think the only thing that we've done well, the only green shoot, is the pressing. I think that looked better first half, but second half we seem to tire a bit. So Cook will address that with athletic players, perhaps. I don't know. But going back to a whole week of training, all I would be doing on the training ground between now and next Saturday is press, and work on the press and work on the shape. Because if you pick the balls up in the right areas in the final third, then you're going to score more goals. And I think that's our problem. I don't think we press teams enough.
Mark, would it be a fair comment to say Paul Cook's only here because Paul Lambert hurt Marcus Evans' feelings?
Silence. Paul Cook.
Yeah. Is he only here because Paul Lambert went on a media tour to save his job and in the process hurt Marcus Evans' feelings? Because Teflon Don was going to be here all season. I'm bloody sure of it.
I think, like most things with Marcus Evans, he leaves it to the last minute. He leaves it till it's too late. He leaves it till it's too late. The time to sack Lampard really was at Christmas. I 100% believe if Cook had been brought in at Christmas when he should have been, we'd be talking a bit more positive and we'd probably be going for the title or second with the players we currently have. He zapped it out of him. I thought it was just too late. He'd have got it right by now, wouldn't he? Yeah. Well, Marcus, it's an odd one. Marcus, back in the day, Marcus wanted box office. He got it with Keno and then he tried to go again. And now I can't believe Marcus actually likes hanging around with Division 3 chairmen at their group therapy sessions or whatever they do. And I imagine it's no fun and it's much better crack being in the Championship and the Premiership. And I think it's only now maybe the penny's dropping for Marcus Evans, if he does stay, that he will be hanging around in Division 3, you know, basically, you know, boardrooms. And I'm sure it's no fun drinking their Coca-Cola when he could be in the Championship and the Premiership hanging around with the big boys, because that's the only logical reason I see him even at the club for.
You don't want to be friends with Steve Evans anymore. That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah, no, but it's true. Mark, I appreciate you. My hair needs
Thanks a million, lads.
Available. Thanks ever so much. Ben, what do you make of today's capitulation, shit show, horror show? What are you calling it?
Oh, we're all right until the first 40 minutes, until they scored a goal. It was just like, we just fell asleep, lacked it, and, you know, we were just under pressure for a majority of the second half. And, you know, we just had nothing going forward.
How did you rate Andre Deserve today?
Crap.
Yeah?
They were all passengers today. I think everyone was a passenger, weren't they?
I think you could have done better.
I thought Deserve played better when he had two men to aim for in the second half.
I think you could have done better with that first goal. He just stood there, sort of ducked a bit, and the ball just ended up in the back of the net.
Yeah, I think it was more Toto and Chambo, to be fair. But Lee, I did honestly feel, and I'm not often a Dezel fan, if you like, but I did feel when he had a couple of players, Jackson, Norwood, Parrott, etc., to aim at, more options, he was getting the ball forward much quicker. It was more accurate. He was looking to play people in. Is he a victim of the fact that we play with one striker and there's nobody to aim at?
I think so. I mean, I've said on the chat here, and I'll probably get sort of lambasted for it, but you build a team around Dazelle. Dazelle is the player. I mean, a lot of people aren't going to agree with
I won't go that far.
If you get an enforcer beside him, and you get playing the right way, and you get the right wingers, and you get people wanting to go forward, he's the only one who can pick that pass, and he does pick those passes. Look at the pass he picked for Jackson when Jackson went one-on-one and missed with the goalkeeper. No, we've got no other player can play that pass. Maybe Judge, but not quite as consistent.
Judge won't be. I meant to say this before. Surely Judge is one of those ones out the door. I like the guy. He's clearly got the technical ability. I've got no doubt about that. But surely,
he's playing his best, isn't he? Is he not playing his best? He's playing his best for us in 2 years.
He's not the future. I know what you're saying, but he's underachieved pretty much since he walked in the door. He is having a decent patch at the moment, despite having some personal problems. I think we all have to say, but I still don't see him being here. Whether that's just more my opinion. I don't see. Yeah. I think that sort of player of that age that's undelivered and is inconsistent. He's part of the problem. I hate to say it.
Yeah, I mean, we keep looking forward to the future. We keep talking about the future, don't we? Next season. We've got these games now. We've still got a chance. Let's play for the next game. Let's get players round. We've got to play.
We just go and beat these. All the rest of these teams, we've got to play 8-9 games against teams below us. None of them really good. Portsmouth are a decent side. Let's not kid ourselves. At the end of the day, we can beat the Rochdales, the Bristol Cities. We can beat them without even being good, without playing well, without having the answer. We can beat all of them. And that's why I think I still back us to get 80-plus points, because we've got some terrible teams to play. And while we are a terrible team, we're not as bad as the terrible teams we've got to play.
I think it's not let us play. Portsmouth will let us play, won't they? Sorry, Kally, go on again.
Sorry, I was just saying, my worry in the last couple of games is our defence isn't looking as solid as it used to be. So we were winning because we were only scoring a goal a game, and that's all we needed. Now we're going to need 2 or 3 goals a game to get 3 points. I can't see this team getting more than 1 goal a game. And that's the worry. That's the big worry. And I know everyone's talking about this out of contract list and let's get everyone, let's rid them all. Who do you bring in, right? You don't bring in the right people. These are the same players that got us first earlier on in the season and had a good run before Cook come in. So I don't subscribe to the fact that the players, aren't good enough. They're going for a bit of a shit spell or whatever's going on behind the scenes.
You can't chuck them all. You can't chuck them all out because someone said it earlier.
Who'd you bring in?
Well, you can't chuck them all out. So you've got to look at maybe the 11 that started today, maybe, and maybe one other. Whoever you bring in, you've got to keep that 11. But to get better, you've got to improve on the 11 that you've got. You can't just clear everybody out. What you want is, if the team that started today was the second string, and you bring 4 or 5 players in that are better than what you've got, then that's progress. If you just wipe the slate clean and start afresh, Evans is not going to fund that, is he?
I think what we need to do, the most important thing is I think we need to wipe this. Sorry, I was going to say, I think we need to wipe the slate clean with the players that have been there for a couple of regimes. That's the most important thing. The players that have been there since Smick, the players that have been there since Hurst. As many of them that we can get out, the fresher the start will be.
Victoria Henderson, I could put my heels on and still score more goals than these dicks. Yatesy Tucks, bringing you in next. Ben, Cook said on Friday about a couple of players, Hughes and Matheson were the 2. He said there may be some decisions coming. What would you do with Emily Hughes
surely
and Matheson? What would you do, Ben?
I quite fancy keeping Luke Matheson because I think he's actually got talent and I think he'll actually be good. But Amir, he's past his best now. He's past it.
Yeah, he's only 28, I think, still, Emily Hughes, but he plays a lot older, that's for sure. Ben, you talk about Matheson. Is the Matheson situation, Tucks and Kirk, get ready? Is that a symptom of what's been wrong at this football club? Because you've got a player in Luke Matheson that can't get in because the player who's there is your captain and your leader, but actually Matheson's probably a better player.
He is, yeah.
Is he
now you've got KVY back, so is he actually going to get into the team?
But then if you play KVY, what do you do with Chambers, Ben? Because do you drop Wilson and Toto, who are forming a fairly decent partnership? That isn't going to happen, though.
Make Kally captain,
Yeah.
drop him, job done. We need to move on from Chambers as captain. It's going to happen eventually. Why not? Why not today? Why not tomorrow? Why not next Saturday?
Okay.
We need to find a new captain because at
Tux.
the end of the day, he is 35, whether you like him or not.
Tux,
But who
move
do we
on from
bring in as
Chambers. Is that
captain?
is that a right? Is that right? Because
Good
Kally
point.
midweek didn't want to move on from Chambers or Skews. What do you think, Kurt? You're next.
Luke Chambers, I think, is finished at this club along with a lot of the older statesmen of this club, I suppose. But great service,
Say his name.
as I've always said. But at the same time, there
It's
comes
finite, isn't it?
point where you have to change the personnel, you have to change the team, and you have to move forward. You can't always live in the past. Otherwise, we'd be having Matt Holland and Jim Magilton still in our centre midfield. So
I'll take him.
you just have to look forward.
Don't think Crunch would. Ben, I really appreciate you. Thanks ever so much. Yatesy, welcome in, my man. So, you two, what do you both feel? We'll let Yatesy go first. What did you feel after today's shit show and hearing this full-time show so far?
I don't understand this whole protection that for some reason Cook has just because he's been in here for about 3 or 4
Preach
games.
it, brother.
I really don't understand it. He's got this some kind of force field that apparently we can't attack him for his decisions. I'm not calling for the sack, but this is a man who only in pre-match conference he said, Chambers great servant, but I want my fullbacks to be like penetrating the attack. And then roll on 12 o'clock today. We've got Ward and we've got Chambers. Like, yes, ages 70 plus, get in. Like,
Yep.
awful. And then we go back to January and the loan signing. Let's face it, Matheson, out of those loan signings, was probably the one that most people were excited about because the man has talent, clearly proven at Rochdale, as otherwise he wouldn't have been picked up at Wolves. And yet he's probably going to be the first one out the door now. And yet, we've got KVY coming back, but yet again, it's the Skew situation. Skews was rusty against Fleetwood. So how many games is it going to take KVY to get back up to speed? He's been out for 17 months. And yes, he had a nice little showing today, but are we now resting on Chambers at right back for the next? I don't know. We've got
I think
200 years.
That should be Chambers' last game at right back for this season, potentially for the club, because you've got 2 other guys here now. He's played there due to necessity a lot of his games, hasn't he? Over the years, necessity. We haven't had a right back, and so on and so forth. Now we've got 2 lads, both better than him, both faster than him. As you said, Cook clearly wants his attacking fullbacks there. James isn't that. He's got 2 right backs that can do the job better than he can. It has to be his last game at right back. It has to be.
Then it's McGuinness that has to go back then, doesn't it? Because Chambers, if he's going to come inside and be a centre-back, whether it's cover or starter, you don't need, McGuinness as well. You've got Wolford, and I don't know why Wolford's not
rotting somewhere, yeah.
Well, yeah, Mark.
Well, I don't know why he's not in the squad.
Mark, what's your thoughts on the Wolverhampton situation? Not in the squad at all. What's going on there, do you think?
He found himself out of the squad because he wasn't playing well, as well as McGuinness was. But at the same time, Wolverhampton is obviously in the future in that position at this club. But with KVY, I think obviously he's run out today. I fully expect him to start the next game at right back. Keep going on until he obviously gets injured or something like that. So with Matheson, I think he'll go back. I think he's only focused on the players that actually will probably either be here next season, or he thinks that he can improve for next season potentially. So I can't see Matheson coming back. If he even played the next game until the end of the season, I can't see Matheson coming back next year. But he'll go, and it's likewise with Thomas as well. I think he'll go as well.
You were quite vocal in the chat, Mark. What did you think of today's game overall? Who impressed you? Who didn't impress you?
I think you got to go back to the interview with Caden Jackson. I don't know if anyone saw it, but he said something about we need a reaction today, right? Where was that reaction? Where was that reaction from any of our players, apart from when we went a goal up and we played actually okay in the first half? Where was that reaction? All the time and time again, we are sitting here on these kind of chats, sitting here thinking, okay, where was that desire? Where was that creativity? Where was something coming from to, give us fans something to look forward to? There was absolutely fuck all there today, right? Especially in that second half. And I can't keep going on about the same sort of things if Cook can't see that, if Evans can't see that, if the players players themselves can't see that. There's absolutely no desire there. If you don't want to play for this club, don't play for us. Go and get a kid in that's in the academy that wants to make a name for himself, who wants to be here next season. I'd rather see that than someone that's going to sit there, collect their wages and all that. Still collect your wages, go home, sit on your sofa, sit with your wife, sit with your kids. But if you don't want to play for this club, don't turn up to training. It's as simple as that.
It's a fair point, Cal.
No, yeah, it is a fair point. And, you know, the couple of things there is like, okay, if we're talking about he wants to look at who's available next year, why is McGuinness on the bench and not Wolfenden? I'm not a massive Wolfenden fan either, right? But he's our player. We can make money on him if we have to sell him. And Martin, you've said this many times. He at the beginning of the season when we was looking at selling him, what was it, between 3 and 5 million? That was a
ridiculous amount. Yeah,
we'd be lucky to get $1 million right now.
Because every day he's not in the team or even on the squad, other clubs look at it and go, "Well, you can't get in their first team. They finished 9th.
And that's
who are you? What are you? You know what I mean?
So it's like I don't know if I don't even know if Paul Cook knows his own team yet. So this next week for training is going to be really good, right? So it'll be really interesting to see how we turn up at Wigan next week and see how that works. But it's just Mark said it perfectly. There's no desire, man, and it's whether it's from the top. The facts of the matter is, Paul Cook inherited a winning squad. They were 3 on the bounce, and we haven't won a game. He inherited that from Matt Gill. I'll say it every time. And now we haven't won a game since. Well, no, we won the.
Are you worried, Rob, or Curtis, whichever one was coming in here? Because after Fleetwood, we all expected as a fan base a reaction. We were quite excited because Paul Cook came out, said some things. There was obviously no player interviews. They were kept in the dressing room a little bit longer than normal. So as fans, we were quite excited. We thought, we're going to see a reaction this Saturday. But it doesn't matter whose voice it is in that dressing room. These players are they're just not showing up. They want it. Does that worry you that it's not a single manager's voice? It's just the collective, or what?
Worries me. Yeah.
We did what we do all the time. I mean, we are Ipswich Town. If another club needs to churn out results, we are the club that is the best person to turn it against. Portsmouth, didn't win 5 in a row, and somehow suddenly they've had a new manager bounce within a day, and we've gone 1-0 up, and they've turned us over 2-1. 35 minutes we turned up today. 35 minutes we turned up. As soon as James Norwood started limping back, and he wasn't injured. He wasn't injured at all, because we've seen that limp back before when he's scored and he's done his limp back shithousing routine. He wasn't injured. That's so that they couldn't do the quick attack and then do us. But yeah, they still did us. Like and it all comes back to this whole 4-2-3-1, whatever formation Cook wants to play. And this is where we need to start leveling criticism at the man making the decisions. This team has clearly been proven we can't play that. We can't play it. Lambert tried it, didn't work under him. Cook's trying it now, won't work under him. If I make my girlfriend a cup of coffee and shoot 3 sugars in when she only likes 2 for a whole year, she ain't gonna learn to enjoy it just because I'm going, get that down your throat. Get it down your throat. Like it's not gonna happen because these players can't learn it. They've proven it for the past year. So the criticism has to not only be levelled at the players, it has to be levelled at the manager. The manager, just because he's only been here for a few games, it doesn't matter. It has to be levelled at him as well. Regarding, I mean, McGuinness on bench, I don't know what's happening in the subs. Quite honestly, a lot of these players, I couldn't care whether they play for this club again. Really, I mean, we've gone through years of going, I really hope he doesn't go in the summer. I really hope he doesn't leave in the summer. What players in that squad at all do you really genuinely go, I absolutely love that player. I really hope we hold on to him.
None.
Because even Downs, if you get a couple mil for him, chuck him on. Like I don't.
I'll tell you what. Right, this squad has been together collectively now for 2 years. What have they done in those 2 years for me? For anyone to say that they will now go on a run, like a 5-game run, and go and get 5 wins. Like they can't do that. They can't do it at the moment, let alone in 5 games' time against no disrespect to these sort of sides, right? But the sort of sides that are in relegation battle and stuff like that, they've got something to play for. They want to play now. It always happens at this sort of time of the season, the business end of the season. Whether you're in the playoffs or in a relegation battle, you start to play, right? We're playing these sort of sides that have something to play for. It's not going to be an easy game. Everyone goes on about this running. What running? Do you know what I mean? We're not good enough. We're not good enough to go on a run. These players are not good enough to go on a run. It's as simple as that.
No,
I don't subscribe to that. Right, so I get everyone's point and I get that, but I don't subscribe to that because, like I said, these are the same players that got us earlier in the season. These same players that under Matt Gill were beating Hull, were beating Doncaster. Right, these are the same players. They weren't fluky games. We actually played.
What are they doing? What are they doing now? What are they doing now? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the manager is. But what are they doing?
Let's go back to Curtis's point, which is spot on. Which is the manager has to take responsibility. He took a winning team and a winning formula. All you have to do is speak to Matt Gill and say, "How have you set him up over the last 3 games?" Right? What did you do, Gilly? Right? That's all you have to do. Now, I'm not here to say let's sack Cook or anything, but what I'm saying is
he did though, didn't he? He didn't change much. He didn't change anything really. So now he had to change it because he was losing.
Maybe it's the pressing. Like we look better at pressing, but maybe that's the problem.
The problem is we're shit. We haven't got the players. We're shit.
Stay casual says he literally despises everything one of his own team now. No effort. They don't give a shit and are taking the piss out of the fans. The man can only do so much. Rob, Curtis and Mark are full of passion. I love it. What did you make of Curtis's comment there about you can't let Paul Cook get away with this? Really, is what he's effectively saying.
No, I agree to a point. Yeah, I mean, always if the team's not, the manager is the manager, isn't he? Just like the captain is the captain. They are the figureheads, so they take most of the hit. But at the end of the day, they're not the only problem, are they? Like these players have proved that what their mentality is for years. They've let down a couple of managers. The way it's going, Cook's just going to be the latest on that line, isn't it? I agree that Cook is playing the same system that already didn't work, and I think ultimately just put 2 strikers up top, man. We've got 3 now. For a while, we only had Hawkins. I can understand one up front when he got 1 fit. We've got 3 fit now with Parrott. Put 2 up there. Try and create some chances. Try and score some goals. Same thing as under Lambert. Play 2 strikers. More people in the box. More goals. Simple maths, isn't it? 1 + 1. At the end of the day,
or Mike Brown?
At the end of the day. Martin's still giving his managers 2.5 years to get it right, boys. Just so you know,
I'd give him 3 years. I'd give him 3 years.
At the end of the day, the manager always has to take some responsibility when you're losing games, and he will know that. He's not an idiot. He's not going to come out like Lambert come out and said that we're playing really well when everyone knows it's shite. Right? He's an honest guy. I think he'll be the first to tell you he clearly did after Fleetwood, didn't he?
Absolutely.
I think he was pretty honest about that. He said the cleaners will get in the team Saturday. I wish the cleaners had played, to be honest.
Well, you should have done. Mark, Curtis, appreciate you both. I'm going to get Freddie in from the Portsmouth podcast to give us the opposition's view of our shite team. Welcome in, Freddie, my main man. How you doing?
The negativity has been... it reminded me of Portsmouth fans last week. So I'm completely linked with that.
What did you make of us today?
From Ipswich specifically, I saw a couple of players who I liked. In the first half, I thought Ipswich were lucky to go into it with a 1-1 draw. Unlucky, actually. I thought they played reasonably well. I think the main problem was the defenders didn't like it when, like Ronan Curtis, Marcus Harness, Ryan Williams pressed them aggressively. They didn't like it at all. When Ipswich won the ball in the centre of midfield with Dezelle and Bishop, I thought they were fine, composed. But if the ball was at their back 4. You could just. I thought there were mistakes there, and I think that's why the Cowleys set them up in a very aggressive, high pressing manner, which worked for Portsmouth earlier in the season. The Cowleys only had 1 day with this side at training, and that was yesterday. And you can tell from a Portsmouth point of view, it wasn't perfect with the passing and so on, but the desire was there. And I think Portsmouth outworked Ipswich in the second half, which was disappointing for you guys. I also didn't like the wide areas. I thought that's where Ipswich were weakest. Bennett's I wasn't impressed by, really. And that's where Portsmouth got most of their joy. I mean, if you just have to look at it, with Harness and Curtis on that side, and Portsmouth had defensive fullbacks, Bolton and Brown. They're not bombing overlaps every single time, but they were there to give an out ball as well. And the fullbacks for Ipswich got overloaded, and that's where the few chances that Portsmouth had came from. There are some Ipswich players I liked. I mean, James Norwood, he's your best striker. He should start pretty much every game.
Controversial comment. Love it.
How is that controversial?
Kally.
Caden Jackson came on. I wasn't impressed.
Yeah,
Kally.
you both.
Yeah, but Caden Jackson's not a lone striker. When they play two up front, stats will show you last year Caden Jackson was a highest goal scorer.
I'd send Caden Jackson out on loan, let alone play as a lone striker, mate.
I will say one thing. Sorry, I will say one thing though. You were talking about Paul Cook playing two up front. That is never ever going to happen in a million years. I know this because Paul Cook managed Portsmouth, and he never went to a 4-4-2. It was always that 4-2-3-1. He went to a 3-5-2 for 1.5 games, and then we lost the full game he played with it and threw it all away. I think Ipswich need a summer. They need a summer to get the right players, and I think for the style of play, in my opinion.
Do you want Hawkins back? Because I'll drive him. No.
I mean, in Portsmouth's 4-2-3-1 a while back under Kenny Jackett, there was more direct. Hawkins did very well. This was 2 seasons ago when Portsmouth lost in the playoffs. Hawkins enabled attacking wingers like Curtis and Jamal Lowe to have all that space and all that freedom to score those goals. I just don't see Ipswich having that personally. No. So I don't think even if you play Hawkins, you're going to get the best out of him anyway. Because I look at the front three of Ipswich is 4-2-3-1, and I'm thinking,
shit. Yeah,
I'm not. The wide players are far less quality than the likes of Curtis. To be honest, I'm surprised Curtis is still there. No offense, but he's been linked with players at our clubs now. Sorry,
I think it's because he could have gone at Christmas or at the end of last year, but I think since the fact he's mainly going to play first team football here, it guarantees his spot in the Republic of Ireland team more, which is his main focus at the moment. If Portsmouth don't get promoted this season, for example, he'll be gone. A championship team will bid 2.5-3 million somewhere along there, and he'll go, which is fair enough.
I wish we could sell a player for 7 figures.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't reinvest it anyway.
The club for 7 figures will be doing well, mate.
Who else impressed you then, Fred?
From an Ipswich point of view, the goalkeeper I really liked. Seemed calm, composed. I don't see.
Were we watching a different game?
Really, I didn't think he had a bad game. I don't think Portsmouth didn't have many chances really either. So I don't watch Ipswich as much as you guys do. So I
think today he was. I think Freddie's right today. Today Thomas Holy probably couldn't do much of anything and was cool, was calm, and did get the ball out of his hands quicker, certainly than previous games.
A couple of flicks and stuff from corners, that second ball straight at him, where he had to make like reaction stops almost in front of his face, didn't he? But he did that fine, but.
Yeah.
Why is he not been playing well in the last few games?
No. Have you ever seen the mannequin challenge on social media? Because there's someone done a video.
A lot of shots going past him where he doesn't move. That's the point. Yeah.
Doesn't.
He looks like he's standing in front of Coes, doesn't he? Sometimes.
Yeah. I like it. I guess he's actually a new nickname, Coes. I like that one. Brilliant. How about anything else, Fred? Anybody else really stand out to you, or stood out for the wrong reasons? You mentioned
stood out for the wrong reasons. Again, I didn't really like Ipswich's back four, and I think that's where Portsmouth got a lot of their joy from the pressing, from the mobility. You could see that whenever an option wasn't on the wing, Naylor, and especially when Ben Close came on, I thought the subs for Portsmouth today changed the game. Because before that, Andy Cannon was struggling. He loves to press a bit, but his passing was a bit off. Ben Close came on the 50th minute, very technical player, our number 8, and he linked the play very well from one side to the other. And when Michael Jacobs came on for Geordie Hewula, that made the side a bit better. I didn't think Ipswich subs today were very good, personally. They didn't change the game. I can't remember who came on.
That's the problem. Neither can we.
Dobra came on.
Dobra came on. Caden Jackson came on with 10 minutes. You might have wanted him to come on about 10 minutes before that, so he could have a full 20 minutes playing.
Barrett as well.
Throwing a striker on in the last minute. Usually Paul Cook subs are a bit better than that usually, but today compared to the Cowley subs, it was nice and day.
Every time I see Dobra, I want to give him armbands because he's way out of his depth. Way out of his depth. He really is.
I didn't notice him do a lot, to be honest.
It's too lightweight. I would have kept Judge on the whole game. I wouldn't have taken Dobra off at all. But it just everything about it was second best everywhere, man. And that's the frustrating thing.
Do you not think that we've restarted Portsmouth season there? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Do you not think we've restarted Portsmouth season there? Because obviously, I know it's a classic 6-pointer, and it's 6th versus 7th or 7th versus 8th, that kind of area. I mean, you guys are surely on the rise now. Whereas obviously for us, it's just another defeat. But I mean, you guys, that's the new manager bounce. You'd expect to go and win the next game, and all of a sudden the season's changed in 2 fixtures, isn't it? Whereas if you've drawn, everyone's saying, "Has he got it right? Is he the man?" A bit like we are with Cook.
Absolutely.
I think the difference really is the expectations for this season, at least for me and for some Portsmouth fans, are the expectations were gone when Jacket got sacked for automatic promotion and promotion because of all the previous problems that you might have seen with Portsmouth beforehand. So the Cowleys have got a complete clean slate. They've got 12 games left to try and get the best out of the players they have, playing fast, pressing, attacking football, which they've said in multiple interviews that's their standard of football. And today, the way that the players played today compared to the EFL Trophy final, night and day entirely. So much more mobile. And just they had the confidence to try killer passes, which they weren't doing weeks ago. So that's something to keep in mind for Ipswich if you want to look at it more positively. If, for example, Kane Jacket was still the manager of Portsmouth for this game, you would have won 2-0 easily without even a question. And it looked like that when James Norwood scored the first goal. But there was that desire, that capability. And one stat which might make you feel a bit worse, this is the first time that Portsmouth have won a game after conceding the first goal since Easter Monday 2019.
Jesus. That's awful. Fred, you're not making me feel better about myself.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
Fred, you know you're talking about the subs and everything. I'm yet to see Paul Cook make a decent substitute in it. Subs where they've made an impact. In his 4 or 5 games or however long he's been here, his subs, he goes to the bench, and whether that's the personnel available, not playing his tactics. But I mean, did you see that under Portsmouth? Was he, generally were his subs a lot better, or were they just feels a bit like how we had with Lambert, which is just throw someone on? Because the other day he bloody took off our left back when we're chasing the game for another defender. If that was under Paul Lambert, it'd be cook out.
Well, looking at this game today, looking at the subs again, I didn't think they changed a lot. I think Caden Jackson coming on was a good idea, but again, I think he should have been given an extra 10 minutes for me, at least, considering that, even though Judge could have stayed on. But under Portsmouth, really, it was a settled starting 11 for a long time when Portsmouth were playing very, very well under Paul Cook in that last 12, 15 game run that won us League Two at the time in 2017. But some of the subs were good if they're like for like. I think that's the main thing to take away from. For example, when Paul Cook would take off Danny Rose, who's a centre midfielder, a bit of a box to box, but also links the play between the defence and the forwards. If he subs him off for Ben Close, who's the like for like player, it's fine. But it's when, for example, today he's not very good when the 4-2-3-1 breaks. And, for example, you want to bring on a second striker. He's very reluctant to change that 4-2-3-1 because of the difference in tactics and the ability of retaining possession.
Absolutely. Fred, I'm going to bring in Stuart because I've got some comments from Paul Cook, so we've run through them. Welcome in, Stu. He says, for 42 minutes, we looked a threat. I think we'd probably all agree with that. I thought we did. He's looking for characters of the players, needs to be good enough to be here, himself included. So he includes himself in that, obviously critiquing himself. Doesn't score enough. We find the ability to concede not that hard to defend, and we're always waiting for someone to step up. He also says, trying to get flair players like Dobra involved, and he would like to see Norwood and Jackson together, Stuart. What do you make of that? Trying to get flair involved with Dobra, and he'd like to see Jackson and Norwood together. But then why don't you play them together?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Because in the past, Jackson and Norwood were the ideal pairing back in the day, but now it's just like, you've got Norwood out there on his own trying to get the ball, and you've got Jackson. And another time, you've got Jackson out there on his own trying to get the ball and trying to get some service, which is, and they're trying to get the ball and get service, and it's just not happening.
Is it fair, though? I'm seeing lots of people saying, because it's quite easy social media clickbait, isn't it, to say people questioning Cook, people like the quote and blah, blah, blah. But is it right? And I'll ask all of you, I'll start with Freddie. Is it right to question, are you going to question how good the Cowleys do between now and the end of the season? Or are you going to say, hey, look, it's too late in the season, so we can't really question them?
You can question the management. Of course you can, no matter how many games are left in the season or not. For example, for me, What I'm looking for is, since really, if Portsmouth end up in the playoffs now, it'll be excellent, and whatever happens, happens. I'm just looking for a long-term building block to build on. And if you take that philosophy and look at Paul Cook's side today, you didn't see that much. You saw a lot of players that didn't fit in the 4-2-3-1 that retained possession. There wasn't enough creativity and penetration from the wide areas. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Because under Paul Cook at Portsmouth in 2017, it's the free behind the striker. That's the biggest part of that side that makes this system work. That's the biggest part of it. We had Gary Roberts, advanced playmaker, a lot of service to the striker and to the wingers. You had attacking wingers like Carl Bennett and Carl Baker who were able to do both. They were able to cut inside and shoot and whip across in as well. They were versatile, which that's the biggest weakness in this Ipswich side for me. I know I've only watched them for a combined total of 180 minutes, so about 2 games. But for me, just as an outsider looking in, I think that the three behind Norwood need some work. I would like to see a bit. It depends where Caden Jackson prefers. Does he prefer to play on the wing or fully up front?
No, centrally, he's not a winger. He's not. We tried that. Lambert tried that experiment in a game or two. Didn't quite work. Kally, same question to yourself. Obviously, build on Freddie's comments there. What do you think?
It's exactly what Freddie said. We've been saying all season. It's our front four don't click, and okay, we've got Norse who can score a few goals, but there's no supply. We've got no wingers. Let's be real. You know, Bennett gets you up the pitch, and if he's lucky, he's got no cross on him. You can't really find anything. Edwards, okay, did a nice little assist today. Didn't really do a lot other than that. We don't have the wingers. We have a number 10 in Judge, and that's it. The rest of kind of, you know, square pegs in circles and all the holes or whatever. It's just thrown together. It's a mishmash. So can we really hold the manager accountable? Yeah, because this is your team, and you know, I know he talks about, you know, there's talk about him being stubborn and all the rest of it. But if you don't have the personnel to do that, then as a manager, you know, look at a plan B or look at a plan C. The fact of the matter is, and I'll say it again, is he took a team which won 3 or whatever on the trot, and forget the results. We just haven't. I'm not okay. Whether it's Matt Gill or Paul Lambert, whatever.
I was waiting for it.
I'd say it's Matt Gill's team, right? He took over from Matt Gill, and forget the results, but the performance of those 3 or 4 games was at such a higher level, probably the best we've seen all season, apart from our purple patch at the beginning. We look so far off it. Whether it's pressing, whether it's the passing, everything's just sloppy. We're second. Any team we play against now, we don't look like we're bossing anything. We look second in most areas, and we just need to score goals. Goals win you games, and scoring 1 goal a game, that's going to get you nowhere.
Yep. What do you think?
Well, it's the fact that we don't have the wing players to give the service to the strikers, and you know, yeah, fair enough. We've got Judge as the number 10, and that's really it. Really, it's just they just didn't. For me today, they just didn't look up for it today.
No. Well, they started well, and
the Portsmouth players wanted it more. The Portsmouth players wanted it more, 100%, because the expectations were wiped clean from all the previous mistakes were all gone, and they were playing a style of football which actually suits them, and they knew that their expectations were lifted. So they had the freedom to play. You had John Marquis, who was injured, in the stands, encouraging the players on the 85th minute to keep going. That wouldn't happen under Kenny Jackett at all.
And that's the building blocks you're talking about, and that's where I'm worried, because I'm looking at that team and I'm not seeing a collective oomph, a collective response from
Fleetwood. A few players playing very well, aren't you? And that's about it.
But not for 90, for periods, and then dropping off, and then nobody picking them up, and then going again as a collective unit. But guys, we'll leave it there. We are back tomorrow at 1:30 for the Talking Town podcast, the flagship. Lots of responses to lots of nonsense over the last 24 hours being said tomorrow. Hopefully, Town will see Portsmouth in the playoffs and we'll get our revenge.
Can I just say something very quickly?
Of course you can. Of course you can.
When we got Wigan next Saturday, that is my mate's birthday.
Okay.
So I just wanted to say that quickly.
Do you want to say happy birthday to him, or just telling me that it's his birthday?
It's his birthday when we're playing Wigan.
Okay. So, what's his name?
Robert Churchyard.
Well, happy birthday for women playing Wigan then, Robert. Happy birthday. But we're live 1:30 tomorrow. See you all then. Freddie, as always, a pleasure. Kally, Rob, wherever he is, and Stuart, and of course, Robert Churchyard. Happy birthday. We'll see you all next week. Tomorrow, 1:30.